Alrighty, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about paint types today. So you have a worksheet that looks like this. It's all blank. If you are an A-Day kiddo, you got this in class today. If you are a B-Day kiddo, I'm sorry I didn't have this prepared for you when you were here Tuesday. So you could just draw this little chart. It's not, complicated. And tomorrow's video will have the other half of this worksheet that goes with it. And this chart will be on the back. So just draw this real quick. If you need to pause it to look at it, and we will fill it in with the information. Note that this is the activity that goes with the video. There's not extra questions, there's not pictures or drawings or anything like this. It is filling out this chart, and I may or may not ask to see it in class or for it to be turned in or shown on screen. So, talking about paint types, if we are doing anything to walls, it's usually painting them, because that's the easiest thing to do. Like, anybody can paint, literally anybody. It's not hard, it's not complicated. There's just a couple things to watch out for. It's the cheapest thing you can do to change the whole feel of a room, because you could paint a small room for like $30. I mean, like a bathroom for $30. It's very cheap thing to do. So there are two types of paint. There are latex paints and what we call alkyd paints. You pronounce that alkyd. Latex paints are made from water and minerals, and alkyd paints are made from oil and minerals. So that's the big difference there. One is made of water, one is made of oil. And we all learned back in like kindergarten that oil and water do not mix, and that's still going to apply with paint a little bit when we talk about where you can and cannot put them. So, benefits of latex paint. You can paint right over it after a light cleaning. So, say you painted a wall, a brownish color, and you decide like a year later, I don't really like that brownish color that I painted that wall. As long as you just lightly wipe it off to get like just dust and any like greasy particles off, then you can just paint right over it. Like in a couple hours, you'll have a new colored wall. No big deal. So it's really, really easy to deal with, but you do need to clean it just a little bit beforehand. Another benefit of latex paint is that it comes in something called low VOC. And VOC stands for volatile organic compounds. I do think you need to know that. I'm pretty sure I've seen that on a test. Or I've seen at least it saying VOC. And if you have no clue at all, even close to what VOC is, then that would be hard to understand the question. But anyways, so a low VOC paint means that it is not as smelly as other paints that are not low VOC. And therefore it is safe for pregnant women. I think that's initially why it was made. So, because paint is really chemically, like it can be really stinky, and that is really bad for a woman who is pregnant. I used to mix paint for Lowe's in my early 20s, and I would have like a husband and wife come in very often, trying to get paint for like a baby's room or something because she was pregnant. And more often than not, they would always like make the comment to me like, well, I'm going to paint it because she can't paint. Like the husband would say that. But I would get to tell them, well, you can get a low VOC paint and then she can be around it and she could even help you if she wanted to, or you can just do it for her, but she could be around that and that would be safe. And they would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that existed. But that's totally a thing. A drawback of latex paint is it'll have to be done eventually, meaning it's a little bit durable. I mean, like if you just like brush up against it, it's not going to peel off or anything. But over time, I mean, life happens. Scuffs happen on the walls, scuffs happen on furniture. I mean, things just get used. So eventually it'll have to be redone probably, which is just normal. It's fine. You're probably going to want to change by that point anyways. Where could you use latex paint? It is the paint that you put on walls, definitely. You can put it on furniture, you can put it on cabinets, and you can put it on house exteriors. You'll see when we talk about Alkyd that it also says you can put it on furniture and cabinets, and I will explain that. Usually you're going to choose to put latex paint on your house exterior though, because usually people want to change the exterior of their house at some point. And with latex paint, you can paint over that. How do you clean it? Soap and water. Because it's made out of water, it cleans up with soap and water. You don't need any harsh chemicals. You don't have to do anything crazy to clean it up. Just soap and water works just fine. Like rinsing your brushes out in the sink with some water and some soap does the trick. You get it on your hands, soap and water. You get it on your clothes, sorry, that's ruined, but soap and water will not get it out of your clothes. There's nothing that really will. Sheens would be the last thing, and sheens might not make sense. The sheens are actually your topic for tomorrow's video, so I'm not going to go into detail with them at all right now. You just need to write down this list: high gloss, gloss, semi-gloss, satin, eggshell, matte, and flat. Those are all sheens that exist, like all the types there possibly is, but we're only going to talk about 4 of those tomorrow in your video because only 4 of them will ever be on your exam in this class. All right, moving on to Alkyd or oil-based paints. They are the most durable because it dries with a harder finish. Finish as in like it's like top coat, it's clear coat, it's not an extra clear coat, like it's just one coat of paint, but like just like the material it dries like is just harder than a latex paint. Latex is almost like stretchy, where like if I had a flake of paint and it was latex, I could like twist it and pull it before it would like break. If I had a flake of Alkyd paint and I tried to twist it or pull it, it would just snap in half. It would just crumble. So it's like a hard finish, like your car exterior, for example. That is oil-based paint. It's super hard. So it is a benefit that it is the most durable. So you want to use it for very specific things. However, it has a lot of drawbacks. Nothing will stick to oil-based paint. So you can't paint over it with anything without stripping it first. And stripping is a you-know-what. It's a bear, the other word for bear. But so when we learned that oil and water do not mix, if you painted your wall with an oil-based paint and then one day you went back over it and painted over top of it with a water-based paint, it would like separate. It'd make these little bubbles and it would stick in some spots, but it would not be a very clean finish. And if you just like barely scratched it with your fingernail, it will crumble right off. So that's that oil and water do not mix principle that it still exists even with paint. So this is why you don't paint anything that you're going to want to repaint in any kind of soon time frame with oil-based paint, because it's even you can't even put oil over oil. It still doesn't stick together very well. So we'll talk about stripping when we talk about how to clean it. But just know that it's not, you cannot paint over it. Like you got to paint it and leave it forever without a big process. Another drawback is it is super smelly. Like I'm pretty much immune to like paint and stain smells except for oil-based paint, and I can smell that stuff. It's kind of stinky. If you're not immune to it at all, then you would probably feel a little loopy after smelling it. We'll just say that. And because of this, it's super duper unsafe for pregnant women. Very, very much so. It could cause damage to the fetus. Where do you use oil-based paint? Furniture, cabinets. They can be used on there. It's probably best to use oil-based paints on there because they are so durable, and furniture and cabinets and stuff get a lot of wear and tear. But if you're going to want to redo these furniture or cabinets anytime in the next near future without a lot of trouble, then you would not want to paint it with oil-based paint. You would kind of want to leave it forever. Barns typically get painted in oil-based paint because they are usually something that's going to stay painted forever, and it's durable enough to do that. Like there's special barn paint at Lowe's, and it is oil-based all the time. Fences, for the same reasons as barns, basically places that you will never want to repaint again. It should be able to hold up for that long. How to clean it. Okay, so you have to use a chemical on it first. Chemicals like paint stripper, paint thinner, mineral spirits, or turpentine are all examples of oil-based paint. Pretty sure I've seen that as a test question. So you strip it, like you put these chemicals on it, you let it sit, and it like bubbles up and separates. And then you would scrape it off with a paint scraper, and it'll get most of it off, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. And then what little bits are left, you would sand it off. So it's a process. It's dirty. It takes a long time. Like it takes a long time if it's just like a chair. So imagine if it was like an entire kitchen or an entire wall. It's a you know what. So last but not least are the sheens that it comes in. It only comes in high gloss and just gloss. And if you think about it, that makes total sense. Well, these are shiny things, by the way. Hope you get that from the gloss. Oil is shiny. Like think about what oil looks like. Think about if you have a greasy face or your hair is greasy. That's oil. Oil is shiny, period. Therefore, oil-based paints only come in shiny sheens. That's it. Okay, tomorrow we will talk all about sheens, and there's actually more about them than you would think.